أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ونعم المولى ونعم النصير. والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. وقل رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتاب الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. My respected elders, brothers and sisters in Iman across the globe, Salamun alaikum jamiyan wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Question: what is the leadership philosophy of Imam Ali alayhi salam? Keep that question in the back of your mind, inshallah. We will return to it. We've been discussing a conversation around Islamic philosophy, ethics, and ultimately spirituality. And we said that we bridge this conversation with our new topic of discussion, or the second half's topic of discussion, which is Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. And we said that Imam Ali alayhi salam is perhaps the best example after Rasulullah, of the best applied example of the theory that we discussed in the first portion of Islamic philosophy, of Islamic ethics, and Islamic spirituality. We see that embodied in the personality and the persona of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Therefore, his life is worth studying. Therefore, his life is worth analyzing. Therefore, his life is worth absorbing in our own lives so that we can have philosophy, ethics, and spirituality in our own lives and our own world. Therefore, we said that these are all principles that are laid out, not only for the Shia community to study the example of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Rather, it must be studied by other Muslims who are not Shias. It must be studied by the global community, whether they be Christian or Jewish or Hindu or Buddhist or whatever school of thought that they may adhere to. The example of Ali ibn Abi Talib can be extremely valuable in order to help the entire world live a more balanced, equal, and ultimately more tranquil life. Therefore, in tonight's discussion, I want to look at a few very important elements of the equation. I want to discuss some very important topics with respect to the leadership of Ali ibn Abi Talib. We highlighted and we understood that there were two faces of Islam after Rasulullah. One was the true face of Islam that was seen in the personality of Ali ibn Abi Talib, but there was another face of Islam that had emerged at the moment of Saqif of Banu Sa'da. That face of Islam that had emerged right after Rasulullah's death, or right in the moments where he's leaving this world, was a face of Islam that returned back to the era of Jahiliyyah, that returned back to the era of ignorance. One where tribalism emerged, one where favoritism emerged, which we'll see in a few moments, one where inequity emerged, where inequality emerged. All of these traits began to emerge. All of these things which the Holy Prophet spent 23 years of his life dedicated nonstop to abolish. He worked towards saying that there is no one better, whether it's an Arab or a non-Arab, doesn't matter. As long as you have taqwa, you are exalted and you are elevated. Taqwa is the only thing. God consciousness, piety is the only thing that separates people. But what happened after Rasulullah's leaving this world? A situation emerged where the tribalism emerged once again, where the favoritism emerged again. All of this began to emerge. And it was only when Ali ibn Abi Talib, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, came back to the position of leadership and he sat in the position of Rasulullah, where he established once again, the principles of Rasulullah with which to govern. Therefore, I want to discuss and look at tonight, number one, what were those elements that Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen discussed in his inaugural address? Let's finish off those that we began yesterday. What were some of the other points that emerged in the early days of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen? How did Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, show his philosophy? How did he show his principles? How did he show the way he looked at the world through his actions and the words that he told the so-called companions after Rasulullah? And finally, I want to look at what were some of the merits that were highlighted by some of the companions of Rasulullah and the companions of Ali ibn Abi Talib during that difficult time where people could not express their views of Ali ibn Abi Talib. what were some truthful, righteous people stating, and what were those merits that they highlighted with respect to Ali ibn Abi Talib, and how that can help us understand how we should lead in our modern world, and how the world can get leadership and guidance, and how we can get leadership and guidance in our own communities. And from that community level, we take it on to the national level and the international level to bring peace and harmony to our world ultimately. Number one, I want to continue with the conversation we began the previous night about Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen's inaugural address. And one of the statements he makes there at the forefront is he talks about how the first three khulafa came to power. A historical fact that there was a gathering at Saqifa of Banu Sa'da, which was a place that was a pavilion. Saqifa was a pavilion which was owned and was possessed by the Khazraj, for example, for this group. And at that point in time, Abu Bakr, in his famous statement at that moment, which is accepted by all Muslims, Shia, Sunni alike, it's in the pages of history, in the works of history of the historians of Islam, you'll find that he began to say to the people who are, for example, from Medina, the Ansar, and he began to tell them, because two groups emerged here. One group was the people who are the Ansar, the people of Medina, and the others were the Muhajirs or the Muhajirun, those people who came from Mecca. They left Mecca and then they came towards Medina. Those people were one group. The other group were those who were from Medina itself, the Ansar, the ones who Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen and the others came towards from Mecca. The people who were Ansars felt they had a right over Khilafah. At the same time, these were the people who were the Ansar. The people who were Muhajirs, they also felt that they had a right. So the people amongst the Quraysh, they said, we have a right to Khilafah. At the same time, the people of Ansar, the Aus and the Khazraj being two main categories and two tribes under these categories, they said, no, we have a right. So Abu Bakr, at that point, Abu Bakr ibn Abi Quhafa, he comes forward. Historical facts. These are the things that I'm laying out, the principles that I'm laying out for the world to see. No, this is nothing about animosity. This is nothing to make character assassinations or moral attacks. This is to lay out why some of the brothers who were once, for example, followers of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, why they came to Tashayyu, for example. What were some of the reasons? What were some of the reasons that the followers of Ahlul Bayt highlight these principles? Not to point fingers or attack anyone, just the facts of the matter. What's the facts of the matter? Abu Bakr began to say at one moment in time to the Aus and to the Khazraj that were you not elevated in your tribe? And he revived this tribalism and said, is your tribe not better than this tribe? And is this tribe not better than that tribe? And don't you have a right over this? And don't you have a claim over this? And wasn't this person killed and wasn't that person killed? He began to make it personal and tribal at that moment in time. And when this ensued, the Quraysh or the people who are Muhajirs also began to say, well, we have a claim. We were the first with Rasulullah. We were the ones who spent the time 13 years in Mecca. You were not even in Mecca for 13 years. They began to tell the Muhajirs, they began to tell the Ansars. The Muhajirs began to tell the Ansars, you weren't even in Mecca with us. Do you know what difficulties we went through? Do you know about Shabeer Kirmani Talib? Do you know about those difficult times? These types of conversations began to begin. So everyone began to think they are superior to the other. Everyone began to think they are better than the other. This revived a culture in Islam which was not from Islam. It was a culture which was from the ayyam of Jahiliyyah, the time in the period of ignorance, where people are thinking they are better based on their lineage, based on their pedigree, based on their family only. This was not the vision of Islam. The vision of Islam was equality. The vision of Islam was egalitarianism. The vision of Islam was to make sure everyone's right is looked after. And not because I come from a wealthy family, not because I come from a prestigious family, not because I come from so-and-so family, therefore, and such tribe and clan, therefore I'm exalted. No, the position of Islam. And this is why, if Islamic principles were truly understood, if Islamic principles were truly applied, then the world would begin to say that Islam is that one beacon hope for society and civilization. Unfortunately, this vision and this viewpoint of the true philosophy of Islam, the true ethics of Islam, the true spirituality of Islam, as taught by Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, as taught by Rasulullah, that face has not been shown to the world. The face of Islam that has been shown to the world is the face of Islam of the Umayyads, the Umayyads. The face of Islam that has been shown to the world in modern day times is the face of the Abbasids. The face of Islam that has been shown is the face of the people who opposed Rasulullah through thick and thin. They were the ones who were going after Rasulullah at every moment. The people such as Abu Sufyan, who said to his lineage that there is no heaven, there is no hell, this is just a play. The same words that Yazid ibn Muawiyah said at the moment after Karbala in Kufa and Sham, when he recites the poetry, Laibat Hashim bil mulk wala khabaran wala ja'a nazal. This was what Yazid was saying. He was making it clear that neither his father, neither his grandfather, they didn't believe, they didn't accept the principles of Islam. Therefore, one thing that you and I have to notice is first principles. Because there are certain people who come forward today in our world and they say this, they put forward terms such as adala of the Sahaba, 100%. That means that everyone who was a Sahabi, who is a companion of Rasulullah, is adil by default. Well, hold on, what's the definition of a companion of Rasulullah? The definition that comes forward according to these same people for what is a companion of the Holy Prophet is the companion of the Holy Prophet is someone who saw the Holy Prophet with his eyes. Yani somebody, meaning somebody who saw the Holy Prophet with his eyes, even though he's his enemy. Abu Lahab saw him with his eyes perhaps. For example, Abu Sufyan saw him with his eyes perhaps. For example, Abu Jahl saw him with his eyes perhaps. Does that make him a companion? Does that make him a Sahabi of the Holy Prophet? Anyone who saw Rasulullah is a companion automatically? And therefore, that's the first level. The second level, and if you saw the Holy Prophet, therefore you by default you are someone who is just? How is it possible? I ask the Muslim world, you must go back and we must go back and ask this question and go back to first principles. First principles is this idea of looking at the world and understanding, well, where did this belief come from? Is this my own belief or was this belief planted into my mind by someone else? And if you read the history of the page of Islam, you will realize very clearly and very categorically that this view, that all of the companions are adil, all of the companions are just, it was implanted in your mind. By who? By Banu Umayyah. Why? Because they needed to legitimize their rule and their position. Therefore, they created this narrative that the people who are with Rasulullah, they were the most exalted and they cannot be questioned. They cannot be questioned. Ali ibn Abi Talib, in his inaugural address, which I highlighted last night, please pay attention to this point. Ali ibn Abi Talib says, I am here to rule over you because you have picked me and you came to my door. And then right away he says, I am accountable to you, O people, and I am one just like you. He's saying you have the right to question me. But before you question me, realize that I may have a reason as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. He's laying a principle that no one is above the letter of the law. This principle that has been adopted in the West, this principle that has been adopted in modern civilization, this principle that has been adopted in the civilized world, so to speak, that principle, Ali ibn Abi Talib was the first one to say, no one is above the law. Even me, you can question me. This is the principle. What was the rule of law during the time of the first three Khulafa, during the times of the Umayyads? The thing was, certain people were above the law. Who? Those people who were ruling were above the law. Their families were above the law. Their tribes were above the law. Their clans were above the law. This is what the other face of Islam is. The face that has been shown to the world is part of this face. The true Islam of Ali ibn Abi Talib, of Rasulullah, does not have this. These issues, when they get confused amongst people, these issues arise. When you look at this, it becomes crystal clear when you look at the pages of history. What was the next point that Ali ibn Abi Talib, coming to our second point, what was the next thing that Ali ibn Abi Talib discussed with respect to after saying that I will give back the people their rights? He mentioned that, oh people, my first pledge is that I will become a blockade. I will get in the way of the people. Which people? The people who use the public treasury in order to build their own personal wealth, to build their own canals and water springs, to amass wealth and accumulate women and all of these things. Ali ibn Abi Talib said, I will be the first person who stands in their way, and I will look and investigate. If they got their money, if they got their wealth from just means, they can keep it, no problem. I'm not here to take it away from them. It was just means. But if they used unjust means, if they used unfair means, I will be the first person to remove this and give it back to the people. Give it back to the people that it belongs to. This was the pledge. This was the virtue. This was the element, and this is the ethos Ali ibn Abi Talib is sharing his philosophy. He's showing you his philosophy. He's showing you how he thinks. He's showing you how he acts with his ethics. And he's showing you his spirituality. They are all one and the same. They are part of the same being. He's giving leadership lessons here. The next element, I continue now from where we left off the evening before. Ali ibn Abi Talib then says, "O people, I want to make it clear to you." Amir al-Mu'mineen is addressing the people. "I know that certain people, they had a special treatment during the time of the first three khulafa. They had a special treatment. Why? Because either they were considered companions and had the company of Rasulullah, number one, or they fought in the battles of early Islam. And they have been using these two pins, if you will. They have been using these two pillars, if you will. They have been using these two symbols, if you will, in order to get special treatment." He says, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, today all of that ends. The special treatment of people thinking that if they had the company of Rasulullah, they get special treatment. Or if they fought in the past battles, that special treatment, it ends today. Because the people who were saying that they were in the company of Rasulullah, they began to get special positions. Certain tribes began to get special positions. Certain families began to get certain positions and special positions. And furthermore, people who had fought in battles or said they were with Rasulullah in battles, even maybe if they were running away from battle, it doesn't matter. They said they were with Rasulullah, they got special treatment. How is this fair? How is this just? Ali ibn Abi Talib said, no, special treatment ends. For those people who had the rightful company with Rasulullah, who are just with Rasulullah, who are fair with Rasulullah, who are good companions of Rasulullah, and those people who fought with Rasulullah, were courageous, were honest, and worked diligently, both these people, you will be rewarded by your Creator, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will be rewarded by your Lord. Remember, this is the principle of Ali ibn Abi Talib has been being laid out, and the principle of the opposition of Ali ibn Abi Talib is being laid out. Rasulullah said that after, when Ali ibn Abi Talib was alive, he said, "Oh Allah, this is Ali." He was telling the people, Rasulullah knows, he's saying, "Allahumma adril haqqa haythuma dar Ali." Oh Allah, divert truth to wherever Ali ibn Abi Talib is. That means wherever Ali ibn Abi Talib is true, there is truth there, because truth is supposed to follow at Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib is not supposed to follow truth. What does it mean? Not that Ali ibn Abi Talib doesn't follow truth. No, Imam Ali is the standard of truth. He is the flag bearer of truth. He is the principle of truth. That's what Rasulullah said. That's the essence. That whenever you see truth and want to see truth, go to Ali ibn Abi Talib. What was the opposition's view? Ali ibn Abi Talib said, no special treatment if you say you're a companion of Rasulullah. No special treatment if you say, for example, you fought in the battles with Rasulullah. Who knows where you are running off to? He says the principle lays here. You will be rewarded. If you are right, you will be rewarded by your Creator on the Day of Judgment. But not here. Here, anyone, whether they became Muslim 20 years ago or whether they became Muslim today, everyone is the same. There's no difference. Notice here, at that the same statements of Amr ibn As ibn Wa'il. If you remember a few nights ago, I mentioned that Amr ibn As ibn Wa'il, his father, the one who taunted Rasulullah and called him Abtar, then Surah Al-Kawthar was revealed at that moment in time. His son, Amr ibn As, who was one of the main people in Karbala, one of the main people who helped Karbala happen, that same person, after he leaves the governorship of Egypt under Uthman, he is waiting because he knows Ali will not give him that position. He asks his two sons, when Uthman is assassinated, should I go under the banner of Ali? Should I go under the banner of Muawiyah? At that point in time, one son says, oh my father, go under the banner of Ali, for surely that's better in the hereafter. The other son says, go under the banner of Muawiyah, for surely that's better in this world. At that point in time, Amr ibn As, he lays out his philosophy, he lays out his ethics, he lays out his principles, he lays out his worldview. What does he say at that point in time? He says, whoever goes with Ali will get the akhirah, whoever goes with Muawiyah will get this dunya. Well, look at it here and understand that the akhirah is credit and this dunya is cash. It's wiser to take cash and leave credit for another day. He's laying out his principle, meaning he didn't believe in true Islam. He didn't believe in the principles of Islam. All he wanted was the seat of position. That is what Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam is saying. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying so clearly. And I'm repeating, I'm not saying for animosity's sake. I'm saying so the principles are laid out, so the Muslim world knows why the followers of Ali ibn Abi Talib, why we love Ali ibn Abi Talib, why we respect Ali ibn Abi Talib, why we dedicate our lives to Ali ibn Abi Talib. It's not because he's from the line of Rasulullah. It's not that. It's not that Rasulullah, he's a Rasulullah's cousin. It's not that he's a Rasulullah's son-in-law. It's not that Rasulullah called him his brother. It's because Allah picked him. And Allah picked him because he had the best ethics. He had the best morality. He had the best traits. That's why Allah picked him. That's why we follow Ali ibn Abi Talib. At that point in time, Amir al-Mu'mineen says that all this special treatment, tomorrow it ends. Everyone comes to the courtyard of the masjid tomorrow, and I distribute the Baytul Mal evenly to every individual. The next day, all the people gathered in the courtyard of the masjid. When they gathered in the courtyard of the masjid, at that point in time, when they gathered, at that moment, what happened? Ali ibn Abi Talib began to distribute 3 dinars to every single person there who was there. The rich got 3, the poor, whoever had the ability, everyone indiscriminately, no matter what family, no matter what lineage, no matter what heritage, everyone got the same. 3 dinar, 3 dinar. One man stood up and said, "Ya Ali, I got 3 dinars and he got 3 dinars," pointing to a man. He said, "Until yesterday, that one who just got 3 dinars, he was my servant, he was my slave until yesterday. And today you give me 3 dinars and you give him 3 dinars, the same?" Ali alayhi salam says, "By Allah, I did only that which is right. I did only that which is just. I did only that which is true. And that is to give fairly and equally." The only difference, he understood the principle that Rasulullah had laid out, that the only difference between individuals is based on taqwa. There is no difference. Arab and Ajam, there's no difference. Furthermore, when this happened, there was a group of certain people, certain individuals were there who were not happy with this. Who are these people? There were certain people who are not happy with this movement. Who are these people? For example, the likes of Talha and Zubair. Talha, Zubair, Abdullah ibn Umar, Sa'id bin Anas. These people, Marwan, all of these 5 individuals, they were in the courtyard as well. They didn't accept. They said, "We don't accept this, that you say that everyone gets the same amount, and we who are the companions of the Prophet, we get the same as everyone else. We who fought battles with Rasulullah, we get the same as everyone else." They didn't accept. They left right away. When they left, they came back the next day. I'm stating the pages of history accepted by Muslims. If you want to research, I invite you to research. They came back the next day. When they came back the next day, they sat in a separate corner to show their separation. When they sat in a separate corner, in order to show their separation, we're told there's a moment in time that they began to plot. When they began to plot and make their decision, we're told they send one ambassador amongst them, Walid bin Uqba. When they send Walid bin Uqba, they say, "Take our message." Walid goes to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen, who's in his early days of leadership, Walid says, "Oh Abul Hasan, Ya Abul Hasan," referring to the title of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, "Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam." What is it? He says that you, Walid is saying, he's addressing Walid bin Uqba, he's addressing Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, "Until yesterday, if you look at the pages of history, you slayed members of our family." Look at what Ali ibn Abi Talib says here in response. And first notice what Walid says and notice Amir al-Mu'mineen's response. He says, "Until yesterday, you killed our own relatives. In fact, you killed my own father in battles in the past." And he highlights that you killed family members and relatives of the likes of Talha and Zubair and Sa'id and Marwan and these people and Abdullah ibn Umar. You killed their relatives. He says, "We will forgive. We will forgive that and we won't take revenge on you." Notice, we won't take revenge with you. On the condition of what? On the condition, number 1, that you let bygones be bygones. Whatever wealth was accepted, whatever wealth was accumulated in the past during the rulers of the first 3 Khulafa and during their rule, whatever wealth was accepted during that time and gathered, let it be, let it pass. Don't investigate, don't take away people's property. He said, number 1, this is the first principle. Let there be separation. And number 2, those people who killed Uthman, the people who killed Uthman, capture their enemies and give them to us. let us know who they are, capture the killers of Uthman and give them and hand them over to us. So they said, three principles they laid out. They said, first of all, Ali, if you accept, we will forgive you if you accept our two conditions. We will forgive you the blood of the people that you killed of our family, when we won't fight you, we won't bother you. If you accept the conditions that you let the past be the past and you don't change anything from the past, and you give us over the killers of Uthman. What did Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen say to this? Look at the intelligence of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says in another statement at another time, he said, I know the politics of Muawiyah. I know the politics of the Umayyas. I ask those people who come forward and say Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala an, who have the audacity to say this, that Muawiyah is the same as Ali ibn Abi Talib. I ask you, have you read the history of Muawiyah? Have you read the life and times of Muawiyah? Have you read the belief system and what he himself proclaimed with his own mouth? That you begin to call him Amir, that you begin to call him Amir al-Mu'mineen? Do you not have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you use these terms for these individuals? I ask this not because I am saying anything except the pages of history. Read the pages of history and it will become clear as day is for you, as it became for so many others who read the pages of history and came from following Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah or other groups within Islam. They came towards Tashayyu. Why? Because the truth became apparent for them that you cannot equate Muawiyah with the likes of Ali ibn Abi Talib. You cannot equate it. That's why the principles need to be laid out that I mentioned a few nights ago. Why this double standard in the Muslim world? Why this one standard for those people? What was the standard for those people who rejected Abu Bakr, the first Khalifa of the Muslims? What was that? They said anyone who rejects him is murtad, is someone who is apostate. He's left the fold of Islam. But when somebody opposed Ali ibn Abi Talib, what did they say? They began to say that person who opposed Ali ibn Abi Talib, that individual is that person who did an error in ijtihad. Subhanallah, how convenient. Because Talha, Zubair, Aisha opposed Ali ibn Abi Talib. Muawiyah opposed Ali ibn Abi Talib. This view of saying Abu Bakr's people who opposed him, they were people who were apostates. And the ones who opposed Ali, they just made a small error in ijtihad, in their deduction. This view is not the view of Muslims. This is the view that was implanted by Banu Umayyah in the minds of Muslims, and it reigns till today. Why? Because it's very convenient for political authority. It's very convenient for rulers, because it says, don't question the ruler, don't question, and only certain people can be questioned. Who? The people of justice, such as Ali ibn Abi Talib. Them, you can question them. But people who don't have the ethics, who don't have the principles, don't question them, because they're appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are having this conversation in order to clarify these double standards for the Muslim world. Ali ibn Abi Talib responds to Walid bin Uqba. He says, you gave me these three conditions. As for the first one, you say that I killed your relatives. He says, it is not a personal matter. I fought those people who I fought because it was a matter of truth and falsehood. It was a battle of truth and falsehood. If you understand the manhaj, if you understand the school of thought of Ali ibn Abi Talib, you will understand Karbala, and you will understand the principle and the viewpoint of Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. If you understand the principle of Ali ibn Abi Talib, you will understand the principle of Rasulullah. This is why what happened in Karbala happened because of the philosophy and the viewpoint of the Umayyads, the philosophy and the viewpoint of those people who opposed Ali ibn Abi Talib. What happened? Ali said, as for me killing your family members, it was a personal matter. No, it was not a personal matter. It was a matter of truth and falsehood. I was not killing them as individuals. I was fighting on the side of truth against falsehood. If you have a problem with it, take it up with falsehood. Go and take falsehood and find falsehood in court and take it against falsehood. It's not against me. Take it up with your creator on the day of judgment. I was fighting on the side of truth against falsehood. It was not a personal matter. Number one. Number two, with respect to you saying, let bygones be bygones, let the past be the past, and let us start a new turn over a new leaf and turn a new page in history, and let the wealth that they accumulated be, and don't question it and don't take it. With respect to that, I have to tell you, Ali ibn Abi Talib states that it is my responsibility and obligation to return the right of the individual who has been oppressed back to them. That is my responsibility and my duty, and I cannot withdraw from it. I cannot move back from it. It is my responsibility and my obligation to ensure that truth is established. Even if it has been delayed, I must give them back their right. And as for number three, you say the people who killed Uthman, the people who killed them, that I hand them over to you. I tell you by Allah, if I knew who were the people who killed Uthman, I would have taken and made sure that justice was administered and made sure that those people were punished as they should have been punished. Look at Ali ibn Abi Talib. Even those people who took his right, who usurped his right, he was willing to help them. He was willing to advise them. The likes of Umar that said, "Lawla Ali lahalak al-Umar," that if it was not for Ali and his justice and his guidance and his advice, that Umar would have perished. Furthermore, when you look at Uthman, Uthman is someone who took the right and he usurped the right of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the seat of Ali ibn Abi Talib that was given to him by Rasulullah. Yet look at Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's laying his principle, his philosophy, his ethics, that if I knew who had killed Uthman, I would have dealt with them the same way I would deal with everyone in terms of justice, in terms of truth, in terms of righteousness. Why else would I do? What else would I do? I would deal with justice and fairness and equity. So he laid out his principles and he called them out. He said, if you do not accept, I'm sorry, you do not accept. But I cannot bend my principles. I cannot bend my truth, my justice, my equality. I cannot do this. This is why we love Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is why we hold the affection of Ali ibn Abi Talib dear in our hearts. Why? Because he sought to establish justice and truth in society by any means necessary, even if it cost him everything and it cost him his life. They assassinated Ali ibn Abi Talib. But that's the principle, because once justice is established in society, life for everyone becomes more fair. Life for everyone becomes more equal. Life for everyone becomes more equitable and harmonious. Why is it that today, some people in our world, with COVID-19, for example, some people are able to live in safety and security, and other people are not able to? Some people have to go work, and some people have to put their lives on the line, and some people are sitting, for example. I'm not talking about those people who are on the front lines and those first responders, the doctors, the nurses, the physicians, the people who are first responders, who are serving. Those are the heroes of our society, and we must applaud them and we must respect them. But I'm talking about, why is it that certain lives and some lives are not as valuable as others? Why is it that certain people, for example, must go to work even if their life is on the line, even if they're ill, even if they're having some challenges, difficulties there? But there's certain people who have prestigious families, who have wealthy families, who have all of the things that they inherited, that they got. They may be fortunate in this situation. This was what Amir al-Mu'mineen was saying, that there is no special lineage, there's no special VIP treatment for individuals. He sought to establish justice on earth. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas was a companion of Rasulullah, of Amir al-Mu'mineen. You know, the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the time during the first three Khulafa, the time during the Umayyads, 90 years Ali ibn Abi Talib was cursed. Why? Sayyid Hakim comments on this. Why did they curse Ali ibn Abi Talib for 90 years? Why? It was not that they were just after Ali ibn Abi Talib. They were after Rasulullah himself. They could not curse Ali ibn Abi Talib, they could not curse Rasulullah himself. Because if they cursed Rasulullah himself, people would say you are out of the fold of Islam right away, straight away. So they said, who is the closest one to Rasulullah? Who is the brother of Rasulullah? Who is the self of Rasulullah? Let's find him, let's curse him, let's torture him, so that we can show our animosity. That is why they had the hatred towards Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. It was not because they had hatred towards Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, just because Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. It was because they were taking out their revenge on Rasulullah through his closest people, his grandson, who he said, Rasulullah himself said, Hussein minni wa ana min al-Hussein. أحب الله من أحب حسينا. Where Rasulullah is saying, for example, he said, Al-Hasan wal-Husayn سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. Al-Husayn, Hasan al-Husayn, imaman, qama aw qada. Hasan and Husayn are imams, whether they are sitting or standing. Hasan and Husayn are Sayyid Shabeer Kirmani, the leader of the youth of paradise, a paradise where everyone is youth. This is the principle that was laid out. But they wanted to destroy the position of Rasulullah, but they couldn't do Rasulullah. So they found people around Rasulullah. That is their strategy. That is how they did it. That's why, otherwise, why for 90 years? After Ali ibn Abi Talib has left this world physically, you're still cursing him. It's because they hated the principle of Ali ibn Abi Talib. No, they hated the principle of Rasulullah, which Ali ibn Abi Talib established. And when he established this principle, they said, we can't curse Rasulullah, let's curse Ali. So what happened? What was happened after? Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas was asked in a gathering amongst companions. The Shia, who said the Shia don't accept companions? The Shias have the most love and respect for the companions of Rasulullah. The Shia love the likes of Salman. The Shia love the likes of Abu Dhar. They love the likes of Ammar ibn Yasir. We love those companions of Rasulullah, the true companions of Rasulullah. Who says that the Shia don't accept? We ask the only question that is, are all companions created equal? Is anyone, and what is the criteria? Anyone who saw Rasulullah, is that sufficient to really be a companion? Establish the definition of what is a true companion and ask the question, what makes sense? What is logically acceptable in this scenario? And the truth will become apparent to you. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas was asked, what are the fadail of Ali ibn Abi Talib? What are the merits of Ali ibn Abi Talib? In a gathering of open. Now the situation was very difficult where you could not recite the fadail of Ali ibn Abi Talib in public. Around that same time, just to give you an example so you understand, when Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas was asked about this, around the same time, they asked Abu Huraira. Abu Huraira, the historian, or the one who was the traditionalist who wrote down the traditions, they say, or some say even created them. Nonetheless, this individual, when he was asked, can you tell the fadail and the merits of Ali ibn Abi Talib? Do you know what his response was? Not according to Shias, according to all Muslims. Do you know what his response was? The response of Abu Huraira? His response was, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. At that moment, the man said, you're reciting Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Abu Huraira, I asked you a question. Tell me the fadail. Tell me the merits of Ali ibn Abi Talib. At that point in time, it's said that Abu Huraira said that I prefer life to death. I cannot tell you the merits. This is the truth. This is honesty. This is integrity. Why? Because he knew there would be repercussions. He knew there would be an attack on him. He knew that he would get in trouble if he recited the fadail of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Anas bin Malik. By the way, Abu Huraira, they asked, where were you on Ghadir? He said, on the day of Ghadir, I was close by the mimbar of Rasulullah. I was close by the pulpit of Rasulullah, the one that was made with the camels' saddles. He said, you forgot? He said, I prefer life over death. This was his response. That he knew Ghadir happened, but he knew that it would take away from his wealth, it would take away from his life if he said the truth. Anas bin Malik was asked, where were you on the day of Ghadir? He says, I'm one of the people who helped Rasulullah on the mimbar. I'm one of the people who helped Rasulullah stand on the pulpit. He said, recite the fadail of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Say the merits of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Tell people. Anas looks down. He says, I have many children and I don't have much money. I don't have much income. And I prefer life over death. I cannot tell you the fadail of Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is this is the truth? This is righteousness? I ask, maybe we don't ask Anas bin Malik, maybe we don't ask Abu Huraira, but at least for the Muslim world, ask those people who put the policies in place that made Abu Huraira afraid, that made Anas bin Malik afraid, that they were not even willing to recite the fadail of Ali ibn Abi Talib, although they knew the fadail. Who created this air of trepidation? Who created this air of fear? Who created this environment? I ask and leave that as an open question for the Muslim world. Look and analyze the pages of history and you will begin to see the truth. You will begin to see righteousness. The only condition is you come with an unbiased heart. You come with an unbiased mind. They said, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, we ask you, tell us the fadail of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He says, I tell you, in this environment of fear and trepidation, look at the courage of Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas. He says, I tell you, there are 4 merits of Ali ibn Abi Talib that if I was given the life and the rulership of Nuh alayhi salam, if I was given the years, 950 plus years of Noah, I would not accept that life and that span and that rulership. I would prefer these merits that were given only to Ali ibn Abi Talib. They said, Sa'ad, what are those merits? What are those fadail? He says, number 1, the day of Khaybar. That day was a special day for Ali ibn Abi Talib. Why? He says, Rasulullah said, لَأُوتِيَنَّ الرَّايَةَ غَدًا رَجُلًا كَرَّارٌ غَيْرَ فَرَّارٌ. He says that on that day, Rasulullah said, tomorrow I will give the flag, I will give the alam, I will give the standard to that individual who is victorious, he is non-retreating, he is karrar, he is غير فرار. He is the person who is none other, who became none other than Ali ibn Abi Talib. Because everyone wanted that flag and that banner on that day, because Allah's messenger had said, he is that individual. Whoever I will give the standard to tomorrow, whoever I give the flag to tomorrow, will be that individual, will be that person who he loves Allah and his messenger, and Allah's messenger and him love this individual. Every companion wanted this, and they stayed up all night in order to get it and pray that they would be the individuals who would get it. At that time, Rasulullah, he gives the flag to Ali ibn Abi Talib. No one except Ali ibn Abi Talib got this flag. This was the first merit of Ali ibn Abi Talib, that everyone wanted it, but no one was able to get this except Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, what's number two? He said, Sa'ad says, the second merit of Ali ibn Abi Talib, which no one else had, was that delivery of ayat of Surah Al-Bara'at, of Surah Tawbah. When Surah Tawbah was revealed, at that point in time, Rasulullah is in Medina, the message is going towards the Meccans. Allah is upset with the Meccans, the Quraysh, the people who fought the Muslims, he's upset with them. Surah Al-Bara'at, Surah Tawbah, the one chapter of the Quran that does not have a Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. It does not begin with, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful. Why? Because Allah is declaring his upsetness with the people. At that point in time, Abu Bakr is the one who goes towards the Meccans in order to send the revelation of this chapter. At that point in time, accepted by all Muslims. This is not something that is partisan. All Muslims accept this in the tafsir and the revelation of Surah Tawbah. What happened? When he reached almost halfway, Abu Bakr, towards delivering the message, Jibreel descended to Rasulullah and said, Ya Rasulullah, Allah says that either you must deliver Surah Tawbah or Surah Bara'at, either you must deliver it or someone from you. That is either you or your likes. At that point in time, Rasulullah called Abu Bakr back and he sent Ali ibn Abi Talib. They said, Ya Rasulullah, you're calling Abu Bakr back and you are sending Ali ibn Abi Talib forward? He says, there is no one who is myself except Ali ibn Abi Talib. I asked the Muslim world who says that Rasulullah never appointed. Did you forget Ghadir, number one? Did you forget Da'wat Dhul Ashira? Did you forget that moment where Rasulullah said, either myself or someone who is me, my nafs, needs to go? Ali ibn Abi Talib. Abu Bakr was brought back and Ali was sent forward. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas says this was the second principle, the second merit, that if I had this, I would not even care for the rulership and the lifespan of Nuh and the merits of all of that of a Nabi. I would prefer this trait that Ali ibn Abi Talib was given. He says, what else? He says, when it was stated to Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, close all of the doors of the masjid, وَسَدَّ الْأَبْوَابَ إِلَّا بَابًا, and leave the door of Ali open. All of the doors except the door of Ali has to be closed. Why? Because the doors of the companions, of some of the companions, used to open into the masjid. Their house had a connection directly into the masjid. However, some of these people did not adhere to the ritual purity, and sometimes they would come in and out of the masjid in a state with such as that. But at that point, Allah said that close all the doors and have them all closed. Everyone must enter from the front. They cannot enter from their own doors except the door of Ali and Fatima. What was this principle? That Allah is highlighting, that understand their position, that they are the household of tahara, they are the household of purity, they are the household of piety, that they are the household of those who are the most pure of Allah's creation on earth. He said this was the third principle with respect to Ali ibn Abi Talib, that if I had this principle, if I had this gift that had been given, then there would be no other gift that I would want. And he said the final one is mubahila, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sealed this in the Quran with respect to this mubahila that happened between the people, that they said anfusana wa anfusakum, they said nisa'ana wa nisa'akum wa anfusana wa anfusakum. All of this, when the nafs of Rasulullah came, that yourself, none other than Ali ibn Abi Talib was taken. The same one, if you want the reference, mark it down. Tafsirul Kabir, Fakhruddin al-Radhi, in the tafsir of the ayah of Mubahila, he's not a Shia scholar, but he's saying that this sealed Ali ibn Abi Talib's position as the nafs and the closest person to Rasulullah. Because the ayah said, it captured that you bring yourselves and we'll bring ourselves. And Rasulullah took none other than Ali. This establishes the principle. Sa'ad said these four principles make Ali ibn Abi Talib of a greater merit than any other individual after Rasulullah. So I ask the Muslim world, do you understand the principles of Ali ibn Abi Talib? Have you tried at least? What are the principles of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and what are the principles that have been laid out by others? The face of Islam that has been shown today is not the true face. The face that has been shown in our modern world that's become popularized is a face that became popular under other rulers, under the Umayyads, under the Abbasids. Go back to the principles of Ali ibn Abi Talib, go back to the principles of Rasulullah, go back to the principles of God, of truth and equity and peace. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to understand the philosophy of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the ethics of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the spirituality of Ali ibn Abi Talib. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to understand the pages of history unbiasedly, fairly, justly, truthfully. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enlighten our hearts and illuminate our hearts and guide us to the straight path, the right path, the path of your messenger Rasulullah and his holy progeny, Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And we ask you to hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, and allow us to be amongst his companions when he returns. Wa akhir da'wana and alhamdu lillahi rabbil alameen.